right since 1975.
For 25 years, Instant Keys has been the go-to locksmith service for car keys, transponders, and even high-tech smart locks. For honest, professional locksmith service,
Instant Keys comes to you.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Oh, yeah, the madness starts back up tonight. In fact, it already has. 2 games underway in the Sweet 16. Got to be honest with you, though. Let the song play a little bit. Let it marinate. Doesn't really have the feel right now as it did last Thursday, does it, Gator fans? Or Hurricane fans? Or I guess Georgia Bulldog fans? As all of our local teams were dispatched on opening weekend, but it is the Sweet 16. 2 games already underway. You got 2 more games tonight, and then you got 4 games tomorrow. I will tell you, Sweet 16 action already going on. It is halftime in the West region. The 2-seed Purdue leads the 11-seed Texas 39-35. And in the South region, Florida Gator fans, this would have been you. Right now, 8 minutes to go in the first half. Nebraska 32, Iowa 24. Let's be honest. I think every Gator fan's rooting for Nebraska pretty passionately to dispatch Iowa tonight. So kudos to the Cornhuskers for getting it done. How about Nebraska? A team that a week ago had literally never won an NCAA tournament game in the history of their program. Think about that for a second. It's a Big 12 or Big 10 now. They were in the Big 12 forever. Now they're in the Big 10. A major power conference program. Football, national titles galore. And here their basketball team is in 2026 and had never won a game in the NCAA tournament, which started, by the way, back in 1939 until last Thursday. And now all of a sudden they're playing for a right to go to the Elite Eight. It's quite the story. We'll keep you updated, but Nebraska now up 10 on Iowa with 7.5 to go in the first half. There was a ton of Gator basketball news today, even though Florida got bounced out on Sunday. A lot of news regarding Boogie Flan, Urban Klabstar. We'll certainly get into that. We won't get too far away from the National Football League. Obviously, a ton going on with the Jacksonville Jaguars as we look at this roster, look at the configuration of the other rosters in the AFC South, and again, begin turning the page to the NFL Draft, which, by the way, is 4 weeks from tonight, 28 days away from the National Football League Draft. The first round in Pittsburgh will be on Thursday, April the 23rd. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. A lot of football. That's basically where we're at. Ryan Fowler has been one of my NFL and NFL draft guys for years. He's going to join us coming up here in about 15 minutes. Ryan also does a lot of work with the Washington Commanders. So I want to obviously talk about Chris Rodriguez. He has certainly seen Chris Rodriguez a lot more than most of us have here in Jacksonville. So we'll do a deep dive into the Jaguar newest running back. But we're also going to talk about the linebackers in this draft class, the defensive linemen in this draft class, as we'll talk draft, a little free agency as well with Ryan Fowler. That conversation comes up in about 15 minutes or so. Also, Gator basketball. We'll kind of look at the future. We'll reflect a little bit on Sunday, but Neil Blackman, I had a chance to catch up with him earlier, Saturday Down South and the Florida Basketball Hour. And we'll talk about the futures of Thomas Houck, of Alex Condon, of Ruben Chinyelu. We already know now the futures of Boogie Flan and Urban Clavsar. More on that in a moment. Neil Blackman of Saturday Down South. And we will also talk more NFL and NFL draft with Destin Adams of A to Z Sports.com later on here in the 9 o'clock hour. Also, happy opening day to you in Major League Baseball for all those who celebrate. Not to give away games that are currently going on. So if you're, I know some people last year on opening day said, Hacker, I was driving home and you gave away the score. Well, okay, it's kind of what we do on sports radio, right? So if you're driving home and you taped a game that was at 3 o'clock this afternoon and you don't want to know what happened, turn off your radio in 3, 2, 1. All right, Mets over the Pirates, 11-7. Boy, Skeens did not last very long in his first start today for Pittsburgh. Milwaukee, a 14-2 demolishing over the Chicago White Sox. How about the Nationals? Opening day at Wrigley Field. They take it to the Cubbies 10-4. Baltimore, a 2-1 pitchers duel victory over Minnesota. The Red Sox. Boy, opening day in Cincinnati is just awesome, right? That's one of those special scenes. What a scene, an atmosphere today in Cincinnati. It probably helped that the Red Sox were in town, but truthfully, every opening day in Cincinnati is such a sight to behold. Red Sox get it done today 3-0. Angels over the Astros earlier today, 3-0. I mentioned the Rays. Tampa Bay got the bases loaded. 2 outs in the ninth, down 9-7. St. Louis gets the victory, 9-7, as the game ends on a strikeout. That was a weird game. Tampa was up 7-1. Tampa scored 6 runs, I believe, in the 7th, only to have St. Louis score 8 runs in the bottom of the 7th. You don't see 14 runs combined in one inning in Major League Baseball very often, but that is what happened. The defending world champion Dodgers get their season underway here in about 20 minutes against the Diamondbacks, and then you also have Cleveland and Seattle late night out there in Seattle. So glad you're with us on a Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark. Every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night, and Aaron Williams. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
on Hacker After Dark.
There's a lot of speculation out there. A lot of people are wondering, A, what's going to happen with Bill Self and the University of Kansas basketball program. And we already know that North Carolina has a job opening. And for the last couple of days, there's been all this conversation about Todd Golden, right? Young coach, what is he, 40, 41 years old, obviously has a national championship. He's got a swagger about him, a bravado about him, and people are talking about, well, yeah, he probably won't leave Florida, but it's North Carolina, right? Or if Kansas comes open, he probably won't leave Florida, but it's Kansas. And you at least take the call if North Carolina and or Kansas were to call you. And maybe Todd Golden will take that phone call. Maybe at least he'll listen. But I thought what happened today with the Gator basketball program was all I really needed to see to basically end all of that speculation. You know, the Gators got their hearts ripped out 4 days ago. Heck, less than 4 days ago. 96 hours ago, they were playing Iowa in Tampa. I mean, it has not been a long period of time. And earlier today, as we're getting ready for the Sweet 16, to see both Urban Clavsar, the SEC Sixth Man of the Year, and Boogie Flan, the starting guard, both announced that they're already coming back to Florida. They're not going in the portal. In Flan's case, he's not looking to go professional. Both Clavsar and Flan announced they're going to run it back. They are back with the Gators next season. Are two guys like that going to do that if there's uncertainty in their minds about what Todd Golden is going to do? Highly unlikely. Now, it's not a binding contract to throw that out on social media. I guess things could change. But to me, when I saw Flan announce that, and then it was cemented home when I saw Klabsar announce as well that they're both coming back, to me, that almost ends the dialogue of Todd Golden leaving for either North Carolina or Kansas if that eventually opens. I mean, the season ended 4 days ago. I'm just not trying to make you feel better about the situation. It still stinks that right now it's Nebraska and Iowa playing in the Sweet 16 instead of Florida and Nebraska. By the way, Iowa coming back a little bit. Nebraska leads 40-35, 3.5 minutes to go in the first half. That's a very un-Iowa score to allow 40 points in 17 minutes of basketball. We'll keep you updated. So we'd love to see Florida play tonight, but anybody that thought Todd Golden was going to go to North Carolina, or again, if/when, I guess, Bill Self makes a decision and ultimately retires, if he does, and Kansas comes open, would they be interested in Golden? And maybe both schools are. But I just find it hard to believe that guys like Boogie Flan and Urban Klabsar would so quickly, after the season ended, come out and make their intentions known that, yes, we are coming back to Florida next year. Why on earth would either one of those guys do that if there was any question in their mind that Todd Golden may leave? When it comes to Boogie Flan, something else to consider. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. I hope I don't go on social media and hear, oh, hackers saying Boogie Flan's going to be Walter Clayton. I'm not saying that. But here's what I am saying. Remember year one for Walter Clayton in Todd Golden's system. And then remember what he turned into in year number 2. Could we see something similar? Do I think Boogie Flan is going to turn into one of the most potent three-point shooters in the country like Walter Clayton did? Probably not. I wouldn't bet a lot of money on that. But year 2 in a system, most NBA and even college folks will tell you, is a really big jump from year 1 to year 2, particularly for guards. And it's vitally important for Florida to have guards on the starting line that are familiar with Todd Golden's system. They didn't have that this year. And now, with the announcement that Klabsar's coming back and Boogie Flan's coming back, you combine that with Isaiah Brown, who will most likely come back. We never even saw Isaiah Brown's brother, A.J. Brown, who they got out of the portal. He redshirted this year. He'll be in the mix. The couple of young guys, right? Alex Lloyd, C.J. Ingram. That's 6 guys right there. I'm going to talk to Neil Blackman of Saturday Down South about this. I don't know if it's going to happen. But do you know Micah Hanlockton is petitioning the NCAA for another year of eligibility? Will it be granted? I don't know. But that's kind of an under-the-radar thing that Hanlockton is trying to come back to Florida for another year. And then we'll see about Alex Condon and Ruben Chinulu. Look, I think Thomas Houck, I would be stunned if he came back. Stunned. If he's a projected top 20 pick, he's certainly a top 25 pick in the NBA draft. I don't think I've seen a mock that has Thomas Houck outside the top 25. I haven't seen many that have him outside the top 20. I mean, I don't care what they're paying with NIL. You can't pass up, to me, being a top 20 NBA draft pick. So I would be pretty surprised if Houck returns. But if you want to be ambitious, we already know Klabsar and Fland are coming back. They announced it today. In a hypothetical world, let's say Hanlockton gets another year of eligibility. And for argument's sake, let's see Condon and Chinulu come back. Well, then, whoa, we're cooking with fire now. It could be another fun year in Gainesville. On that same token, if Hanlockton doesn't get that year of eligibility, if Condon leaves, and if Chinulu maybe pulls a Denzel Aberdeen and transfers, well, then it's going to be a rebuild. But here's my question, too, something to ponder. I think I've stated the obvious, right? With Boogie Flan, Urban Klabsar announcing they're both coming back, I think the obvious point to go to is, well, they know Todd Golden's coming back. I just spent 3-4 minutes on that. What if Boogie Flan and Urban Klabsar have some reason to believe that it's not going to be a rebuild next year? I mean, they're in that locker room with Condon and Chinyelu every day. What if they think that maybe not only are they going to run it back, but maybe, just maybe, they will be joined, and we might get some announcements in the near future about Alex Condon and Ruben Chinyelu. Could be interesting. Big story here tonight. Big picture look. I said I'd be surprised, if not shocked, if Todd Golden went to North Carolina. With Flan and Klabsar coming back and announcing it so quickly after the season ended, I would be flabbergasted if Golden was going to Chapel Hill after these announcements today. So I think for the first time in 4 days, the sky is not falling on Gator basketball. Maybe some of the awful wounds from Sunday night can start the healing process, and maybe we're in for another fun year next season. It'll be fun to see Boogie Flan back. It'll be fun to see Urban Klabsar back. It would have been fun to see Florida playing tonight. Obviously, Iowa had other plans. Again, the South Regional Sweet 16 going on right now. They're approaching halftime. High-scoring game. You would think this would lead to Nebraska loving this. 46-40. Nebraska over Iowa. Under a minute to go in the first half. They're about to come out of halftime in the West region. Purdue 39-35 over Texas. Later on tonight, you got Arizona and Arkansas. That's set for a 9:45 tip. And a 10:05 scheduled tip in Houston. 9:05 Central, of course, for Illinois and Houston. That's ridiculous. I said that earlier this week. I know I'm getting older at 42 years of age. Maybe this is a get off my lawn moment. Why you would schedule an NCAA tournament game, schedule a game to tip off after 10 o'clock Eastern time on a work night is ridiculous. Ridiculous. That game won't get over until well after midnight Eastern, when people have to get up and go to work tomorrow morning. That is complete and total nonsense. The NCAA should be ashamed of themselves for doing that. Having said that, more in the world of college basketball coming up at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. Neil Blackman, Saturday Down South, and the Florida Basketball Hour. Coming up next, let's get into the National Football League, particularly let's get into the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ryan Fowler has been one of my NFL and my NFL draft guys for years. Ryan's done a lot of work with the Washington Commanders organization. Thus, he's seen a lot of Chris Rodriguez. We'll talk about Chris Rodriguez, the newest Jaguar running back. We'll also take a look at this Jaguar draft class and the needs and the fits that Jacksonville has going in, and maybe that the NFL draft can provide them next month. Ryan Fowler next on a Thursday night here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. Till 10 o'clock, it's Hacker After Dark.
904 means Jacksonville. 1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Get ready for spring turkey season at Green Acres Sporting Goods. Find shotguns trusted in the field from Browning, Beretta, and Benelli. Plus, the newest bows are ready to test shoot from Hoyt and Matthews. For over 55 years, Green Acres Sporting Goods has helped Northeast Florida hunters gear up with confidence. Stop by Green Acres today at the corner of Normandy and Hammond Boulevard, or shop online anytime at greenacresporting.com.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental. With light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, located in Bartram Park.
Alert! Alert! Termite swarms are active right now in Jacksonville, and once they get inside, damage can happen fast. Termites don't knock, they silently attack the structure of your home, leaving behind costly repairs and long-term headaches. Protect what you've worked hard for with the proven protection homeowners trust. Terminix, with advanced termite treatment and prevention solutions. Visit Terminix.com and schedule your free termite inspection today.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The NFL offseason continues moving right along. We're basically 2 weeks in to NFL free agency. We're just over a month away from the NFL draft up in Pittsburgh. And as far as the Jaguars go, well, there's certainly been some departures. Only a couple of new players, including obviously Chris Rodriguez from Washington. What do we make of what the Jaguars have done so far this offseason? Let's talk about it with Ryan Fowler, who's covered the NFL draft, and even the world of college football for years. And Ryan's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Ryan, how you doing, man?
Doing well, Ryan. It's the best time of year, and always appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man, we certainly appreciate it. You obviously have firsthand knowledge of the Washington Commanders, so I want to throw some Chris Rodriguez stuff at you in just a moment. But from a mile-high view, Travis Etienne departs for New Orleans. Devin Lloyd departs for Carolina. I think locally here in Jacksonville, Ryan, we were expecting both guys to leave. I think nationally it might have caught some people off guard. What do you make of the guys that left in free agency for the Jaguars?
Yeah, I think overall, it's other than the departures, right? It's been a quiet offseason so far for James Gladstone and company, and I think that's okay. I think sometimes, where volume doesn't always mean improvement, and I think there's obviously going to be spots where you look at running back, of course, with Travis gone, to where there's going to be more expectations for guys like Bashal Tutin and LaQuinn Allen. And I know we'll talk about Chris here in just a minute. Or you look on the defensive side of the ball and really what do they expect from guys like Ventrell Miller, or obviously Foye Oluokun's been a guy that's been in the picture now for a few seasons. So it's asking those guys to step up. It's obviously they're trusting in the amount of really day two picks that they have in this draft, where they like some players in a loaded linebacker class. You look at the running backs as well. They want to add another piece there for more competition for young players. So I think I'm right there with you. Nationally, there was a little bit of eyes open to big headliners for a team that, was right on the brink of really becoming one of the AFC elites last year. I think they're going to be one of the teams in the AFC South to win the division again this year. So I just think overall it's been a quiet offseason. I don't think by any means, you're raising the pitchforks as far as losing two headliners. But overall, they're in a really nice spot moving into 2026 with a bunch of core players returning on either side of the ball.
You've been one of our draft guys for years. Let's begin with Devin Lloyd. With his departure, they have Ventrell Miller on the roster, as you mentioned. They have Branson Combs on the roster, and they have Jack Kaiser on the roster. Is one of those guys the replacement for Devin Lloyd, or do they need to go out and draft somebody?
I would love to see them draft a guy. I think that second, third round bucket is absolutely loaded. I mean, a couple names that come to mind, whether you look at Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech or Jake Golday from Cincinnati, both of those players I think would really be my focus if I'm James Gladstone. Now, I will say this, in that I really do still like the skill set of Jack Kaiser. I liked him coming out of Notre Dame. I thought just in the early portions of his career in 2025, his ability to play up and down a defensive front. He's not going to be your modern day athletic linebacker where you're asking him to roam to the numbers and carry tight ends up the seam. That's really what you can expect from guys specifically like Jake Golday, as I just mentioned, more of those athletic pieces. But if you want a versatile, extremely, extremely intelligent linebacker with his time at Notre Dame, what he was able to do in the middle of that defense back in college, That's a guy I think right away, not going to fill the shoes exactly what a Devin Lloyd could do, but just a really experienced young player, mature beyond his years, downhill type of physical ball player. But again, the focus really for Gladstone and company should be adding a dynamic backer or two potentially in those middle rounds where they have a ton of picks.
NFL and NFL draft analyst Ryan Fowler with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ryan, on the offensive side of the ball, Travis Etienne, as we mentioned, departs for New Orleans. You talked about Bashal Tutin and LeQuint Allen Jr. You have covered the Washington Commander organization for quite some time, so you're very familiar with Chris Rodriguez. In talking to people up in Washington over the last week, the vibe I got was there was a lot of head scratching as to why he did not get the ball more last year, and B, why they would let a restricted free agent at only 26 years old walk out the door. What was your takeaway on the Jaguars signing Chris Rodriguez?
I think it's really one of my favorite underrated signings of the offseason for really any team in the AFC South, to be completely frank with you, Ryan. I think when you look at what Chris Rodriguez is going to provide, if you look at it from a spreadsheet perspective right now, you could say he's behind Tutin and Allen. I think he's someone to where you look in the rearview mirror, you don't want to see Chris Rodriguez there in a depth chart because he is someone, you talk a lot about guys taking advantage of snaps, taking advantage of reps. Chris Rodriguez does that. Every single time he gets the ball in his hands, he makes the most of it. He's consistently falling forward. He can win inside and outside the tackles. Now, he's not going to be someone like the hands of what we saw from LeQuint Allen really at times last year or even coming out of Syracuse, whereas a third down dynamic ball carrier. But if you need 3 yards on a 3rd and 2, or you need something on a 1st and 5 at the goal line, or you need someone to come in and potentially lead a backfield if Tutin or Allen potentially were to get injured and they miss any amount of time, Chris Rodriguez, again, as you mentioned, talking to some folks in Washington, there are a lot of questions last year in that Cliff Kingsbury offense of why he didn't get the ball enough. They sent out Brian Robinson for a reason. They liked Bill Krosky-Merritt and what they got in the 7th round. But every single time Chris Rodriguez touched the ball, good things happened where along that front 5, that really was one of their strengths last year in Washington. So I really like the addition from James Gladstone. Still a young player with a lot to prove. He's built this culture of competition, if you will, down there in Jacksonville. And he's going to push this offense, I think, elevate them specifically in that short yardage, inside, outside the tackles part of their ground game.
Yeah, he had 500 yards rushing. He found the end zone 6 times last year in Washington. And look, I was on the Rachaad White train mainly because I knew he had familiarity with Cohen. I didn't even think about Chris Rodriguez, who was also with Liam Cohen for 1 year down there at Kentucky. So Cohen went out and found a tailback that he's very familiar and comfortable with.
He absolutely did. I think familiarity and relationships do matter. See it in the coaching ranks as far as recycled names. And sometimes you see it with players. We're back to their college days, as you mentioned with Cohen in the SEC at Kentucky. So I think Chris Rodriguez overall, again, you have now 3 backs that are going to come into camp and they're going to push each other. You're not looking at it to where we have definite RB1, RB2, RB3. I think you have 3 complementary pieces where Tutin can roll to the perimeter. You have Rodriguez downhill, and you have LeQuint Allen. It really has that 3-down type of back that really has some excellent hands coming out of Syracuse from what you saw. And I want to see more of that in 2026.
Couple more for Ryan Fowler. Ryan, the one guy they did re-sign here in Jacksonville was Montaric Brown, a 3-year, $33 million deal. Now, understanding that Travis Hunter and Jordan Lewis are both coming back off of season-ending injuries last year, and you have to take that into account. But if one assumes that both guys will be good to go come August and September, you look in that Jaguar corner room, Buster Brown, Travis Hunter, Jarian Jones, Jordan Lewis. Ryan, on paper, that looks like 4 pretty good corners here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree that I would say it's a top-heavy group for me, Ryan, but I think overall, I think you do need another guy in the corners room. I mean, you look at on defense to where you can never have enough pass rushers. I think you need another guy that can play some man to play some zone in the back end of that defense. Now, what's unique about this corner class and where they could add a corner or 2 with the amount of selection they have post round 1, of course, with no first-round pick. You look at the guys that could be like a Chandler Rivers from a Duke or really one of the best pound-for-pound corners in this class, D'Angelo Pons, even though he's an outlier from a size perspective. Or you get to some of these bigger players. There are only 3 guys at the Combine that measured in 6'3" or taller, and that was Devin Moore from Florida, Ephesians Prysock, one of the best names in the class out there at Washington, and then his teammate Takario Davis, who just a year ago, Ryan, we were talking about as a potential first-round pick there for the Wildcats before he transferred over to the Huskies. So very unique class of his corners, really once you get beyond Terrell and Hood and Delane, and Jermon McCoy, of course, from Tennessee. So I think they could add another player in that day 2, early day 3 bucket. A lot of varying body types, including a guy like Davison Igbinosun from Ohio State, could be another option to add to the secondary.
Final moments with NFL draft, and college football analyst Ryan Fowler. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ryan, I want to look at this draft class as a whole, but a quick thought from you on James Gladstone. Last week, Gladstone held a press conference, and he talked about the compensatory picks. And, I mean, for crying out loud, the Jaguars currently sit with 21 picks over the next 2 drafts, 11 this year, already 10 in 2027. I know that outside of Jacksonville, people saw that and thought, you're losing Devin Lloyd and ETN, and you're more interested in the comp picks that you're getting back. Again, Gladstone learned from Les Snead, and Les Snead's been using comp picks to his advantage for a long, long time. A guy like you that covers the draft, and as long as you've done it, what's your thought on Gladstone, the whole idea of wanting those compensatory draft selections?
Well, as much as we live in the now, right, the present day, Ryan, you are always preparing for the future. And it really goes into where you're looking at the college scouting staff, to where you're talking about, yes, the 2026 class is just a few months or almost 6 weeks away from hearing their names called, but teams are already looking at 27. And that is, as of right now, I'm not going to go through the names, but it looks like a potentially historic class at a lot of different positions, of course, potentially headlined by wide receiver Jeremiah Smith out of Ohio State, who could be really a wide receiver 1 in the NFL today if you really wanted to. So, again, as much as you're preparing for the now, you're preparing for the future. And I think James Gladstone has his roster. And again, I mentioned earlier the culture of competition on either side of the ball. You have young core pieces. You have your quarterback. You have your guys on defense that we expect even more out of, with guys like Travis Hunter. What is he going to be in year 2? I'm extremely excited to see him. You're looking at a guy like Brian Thomas to say, look, if you're not going to show up here, you don't want to be here, we'll throw your name around on trading block, but also we have guys behind you potentially to step up. It's always preparing for what's next. As much as it is focusing about the now, I really, really am excited personally, Ryan, about the future of this Jaguars roster because of the organization and how it's run from the top down, to where you're always looking ahead. And 2027 is going to be a historic draft. You can never have enough selections in the draft. Give yourself some more of those proverbial darts at the dartboard. And I think James Gladstone has done a heck of a job here already in the past. What he's going to do in 26, and then moving forward into really a draft next year that really could be historic in 27.
And, of course, Gladstone's already proven that he'll trade some of those picks, a 4th and a 6th rounder for Jacoby Myers, a 6th rounder for Tim Patrick. So the more picks you accumulate, the more chances you might have at not only drafting, but potentially bringing in some veterans via trade. Ryan, final thought. Jaguars don't have a first-round pick. We've talked about that. They have 5 picks in the top 124. And in talking to you about a month ago, and in talking to other folks around the league that cover the draft, obviously not having a first-round pick is what it is, but having 5 picks in the top 120, basically, in a draft like this year particularly, is not a terrible spot to be in if you're Jacksonville.
No, it's not at all. It's not at all. And I think this is a roster, again, you're going to continue to add young, fast, versatile players. As far as the steps that this team took on defense last year, like you're losing Devin Lloyd. Are you going to add another backer? Could you add another corner or safety? Could you add another edge rusher, a guy within the interior? I think a name to watch on early portions of day 2 is potentially a guy like Caleb Banks out of Florida. Do you want to add another receiver? This receiver group has a lot of the vertical type of players. Jeremy Bernard from Alabama, Chris Brazzell from Tennessee, potentially if he leaks into the second-round bucket. I think when you look along the edge group to where you have guys like a Wesley Williams and a Vincent Anthony, one of the more, both those guys from Duke, Mason Rieger from Wisconsin, they're going to have a lot of options, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th rounds, to get a lot of players. That's where you build a championship roster. They're not going to have a shot at one of the blue chip guys in this class. It is a top heavy draft, but in this class where linebacker, potentially even adding a running back, receiver. They're going to be in a really nice spot to add some contributors, lots of them here in 2026.
Ryan, final question. We got about 60 seconds. You mentioned Caleb Banks. He was skyrocketing up the charts. Then we find out that he has a broken foot issue, and he's going to be out till probably June or July. What does that do to his stock? And with that, another local defensive tackle, Daryl Jackson from Florida State. I think both guys would look very good in Jaguar uniforms.
Yeah, I agree. Starting out with Banks, the way that he moves at his size, seeing him live at the Senior Bowl was very impressive. Someone of that size really shouldn't move that way, right? He could play 1-tech, 3-tech along the defensive line. He could play head up on a guard or a center as well. He's going to be a player. As of right now, he possibly may not get out of the top 50 picks. I know the Jaguars are right there early on and, or middle portions of day 2. But then you look at also Daryl Jackson from Florida State, to where he's a little bit of an awkward mover for me, Ryan. And what I mean by that is, as far as just his lateral agility at times, I think he's one of the most powerful players in this class. I think Caleb Banks, even Ruben Bain, of course, are up there for me in that facet. But just I want to see the lateral agility a little bit more, be able to get off blocks. Not everything has to be worn and won through the chest plate of an offensive lineman. A little bit more lateral agility, but that will come with time. That will come with just increased coaching as well. I'm always a believer in development and the arcs of players, not expecting right away for a guy like this, like Jackson, to be drafted maybe late 2nd round, 3rd round. You have to believe in coaching. You have to believe in development. I think that's one of the guys in the middle rounds with the power, the length, and the size and experience that he had in the ACC. That's someone, I agree with you, that would look really good in a Jacksonville Jaguar uniform and complement some of these other young players that they've added there within the interior over the last few years.
The man has covered the NFL and the NFL draft for a long time, my buddy Ryan Fowler. Ryan, I know you're busy. Thank you, as always, for the time, and let's do it one more time before the draft in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Thanks, as always, Ryan. Take care.
Live streaming from the XL Digital Studios. Brightened by Harbor Dental Care, Jacksonville's first choice for dental emergencies.
Mike Dempsey, if you're thinking about a bathroom upgrade, maybe turning that old tub into a safer walk-in shower, check out 5 Star Bath Solutions. I shopped around, talked to several companies, and I chose 5 Star because their customer service was simply incredible. Responsive, honest, upfront about the entire project, and their pricing was even better than expected. When you're ready for a fresh look, better comfort, and a bathroom space you'll love using every day, schedule your free consultation at 5starbathsolutions.com and get the 5-star experience.
Get a healthy start in 2026. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to help you get healthy and stay healthy all year long. Our dedicated team is committed to providing high-quality care and trusted public health services for our community. Our mission is simple: to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Learn more about our programs and services by visiting duval.floridahealth.gov.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Julington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Not everyone is built for a cubicle. At Local 234, apprentices get paid to learn hands-on skills like plumbing, pipe fitting, HVAC, the stuff Jacksonville runs on. No endless lectures, no massive student debt, just hands-on training, real jobs, and real pay. This is how you level up, by doing work that actually matters. Check them out at UA234.com. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Local 234. Make the right connection.
In the game of vehicle performance and reliability, Atlantic Infiniti is always the top pick. This is Hayes Carlyon. Did you know that every certified pre-owned Infiniti is inspected, factory-backed, with a limited warranty, and gets the same championship-level service as a brand-new Infiniti? Every mile will feel like first class. Check out their full certified inventory now at AtlanticInfiniti.com or visit Atlantic Infiniti off Atlantic near St. John's Bluff.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at over $5,000 per ounce, and silver is over $100 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold and silver for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
What Major League Baseball team has never been to a World Series? The answer next.
Southern Oak Insurance is proud to continue offering coverage statewide. Financial stability makes Southern Oak Insurance a wise choice for your homeowner's insurance needs. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The Seattle Mariners, who were founded in 1977, have never been to the World Series.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker, After Dark, on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Glad you're with us. 1010XL, 92.5 FM, Sweet 16 action going on. 14 minutes to go in the ball game in the West region. Purdue and Texas tied 49-49. How about Texas? Here's the team that was in Dayton, Ohio, was one of the last 4 at-large teams to get in, had to survive NC State 66-64 last Tuesday. Then they play BYU on Thursday, beat them. Then they play Gonzaga on Saturday, beat them. And now their 4th game in 9 days, and they are battling Purdue right now. Tie ball game, 13 minutes and change to go. We'll keep you updated. They have also just started the second half in the South region. This should have been Florida. It's Iowa instead, Nebraska and Iowa. Close game. The Cornhuskers up 46-43 on Iowa with 18 minutes and change to go. Again, later on tonight, Arkansas and Arizona. That is a 9:45 scheduled tip. You have Illinois and Houston, a 10:05 Eastern scheduled tip. More in the world of college basketball coming up. Neil Blackman, Saturday Down South, and the Florida Basketball Hour will join us coming up here in about 20 or so minutes. Quickly into the NFL. Thank you to Ryan Fowler for joining us tonight, as he's always kind enough to do here on Hacker After Dark. Something we did not get into last night. You know, the start of the NFL season is one of the biggest days of the year. The first Sunday is just incredible, right? Incredible. But obviously that Thursday night opener for the world champions has become, in and of itself, one of the biggest days on the NFL calendar. Whoever wins the Super Bowl kicks it off Thursday night. The following year, season kickoff, huge tailgate. I mean, it's pregame coverage for hours, and then the regular season begins. Well, not this year. Because Roger Goodell wants to have 9 international games, including one in Australia. That's Australia. The Seattle Seahawks, the world champions, are going to kick off the season just in grand fashion on a Wednesday night. Your NFL regular season in 2026 will begin. Let me get the exact date for you here. It'll be Wednesday night, September 9th, for the opening of the National Football League season. We don't know who Seattle's going to play yet. There's a lot of speculation because of who their home opponents are. But regardless, Wednesday night football to kick off the year. And then you do get a Thursday night game, kind of, 8:35 on the East Coast of the United States of America. However, it will be 12:35 Friday afternoon in Australia when the San Francisco 49ers take on the LA Rams. Now, I'm not going to argue necessarily with more football. I'm not a big fan of change. But what I don't particularly enjoy is you messing with my opening weekend. People will say, well, you get a game on Wednesday night and Thursday night. I don't want the NFL regular season to kick off on a Wednesday night. That to me just seems weird and odd. And they want to do that because they want the world champion to start it off. And if the world champion's going to start it off, it has to be on Wednesday, because on Thursday night on the East Coast, but with the 16-hour time difference, it'll be Friday afternoon in Australia. It will be the Rams and the 49ers. Look, I'm all for international relations. Obviously, London, from what they tell me, has done wonders for the Jaguars from a fan standpoint, a financial standpoint, and I'm sure it probably has. But remember when it was one London game, right? Remember when that was the big deal, one London game? And then they went to 2 London games. And then they went to 3 London games. And you're thinking, okay, 3, that's probably enough. Nope, got to go into Mexico. And we got to go to Brazil. And now we got to go to Germany. And we got to go to Spain. And now we got to go to Australia. So now all of a sudden there are 9 international games. And you know where this thing's going to land. I'll tell you where it's going to land. I don't believe they'll ever have a team outside North America. I won't say a team won't ever be in, say, Canada or Mexico, but I don't believe the London stuff, and I don't believe the Europe stuff. I don't think that was ever going to happen. But I'll tell you what I do think ultimately will happen. If they're already at 9, they're going to go to 16. I firmly believe there will be a day, probably within the next decade, when every team in the NFL plays 1 international game a year. Think about it. If you're at 9, when you were at 3 not all that long ago, well, you go to 16. 16 times 2 is 32. That means every team will play 1 international game per year. And I think that's where it's headed. They're branching out into Brazil. They're branching out into Germany. They're branching out into Australia. They'll find 4 or 5 other venues. It's 2026. What's my over-under? 2035? Maybe considerably before that. I believe you'll have 16 international games every NFL season, and I believe every NFL team will be required to participate in 1. And what I also believe is it's going to be an every 2-year thing where the 16, quote, home teams that lose a home game, let's say in 2035, if you don't lose a home game in 2035, you'll then lose a home game in 2036. The quote-unquote home teams in 35 in foreign lands will then be the road teams in 36, so that everybody loses 1 home game every 2 years. Now, what does that mean for Jacksonville? Well, that's a good question, because they've obviously played in London every year. They're the only team that plays an international game every year, and they're going to play 2 of them this year. And why are they going to play 2 home games this year? Well, because the stadium's going to be at 40,000 capacity, and you're going to be basically playing in a construction site. But that's what people wanted. People didn't want the Jaguars to be in Orlando for 2 years. People wanted the Jaguars to be, presumably, in Orlando for 2027, but they said, do whatever you can to play in 2026. Well, okay, if you want that, they're going to make that happen, but you're playing in a construction site, and that's why it's going to be limited to 42,000 capacity. And that's why 2 of your games are going to London. I don't know what's going to happen when the Stadium of the Future is done. In 2028, when that beautiful $1.4 billion cathedral is up and running downtown, I don't know what that will mean for the Jaguars. That could be the interesting situation in my theory. But again, if you ask me right now, I say we're already at 9 international games. I say we get to 16 sooner rather than later, which means every NFL team will be required to play 1 international game per season. More on that coming up as developments warrant. Again, we'll talk more NFL with Destin Adams, A to Z Sports.com, talking NFL and NFL draft with us coming up towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. Updating you on the NCAA tournament, the Sweet 16. Couple of really good games forming right now. 10 minutes and change to go. Texas, the 11 seed, a 59-58 lead over Purdue. And with 14 minutes and change to go, we are all tied between Iowa and Nebraska, 50-50, shaping up for some good finishes to these first two Sweet 16 contests. Great news for the Florida Gator basketball team. 4 days after getting their guts ripped out, their heart ripped out, got some good news today, and probably good news for the future of Todd Golden. We'll talk about it next here on Hacker After Dark.
Short track, short stacks.
Lordy, what a mess.
This Sunday at Martinsville.
Gonna win at Martinsville.
Powered by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234. From the station with the most horsepower, 1010 XL.
This is Jeff Middlecoff with Cogent Bank. My associate Ryan Salem and I joined Cogent Bank because we wanted to revolutionize the mortgage business, just like Cogent Bank has revolutionized the banking business. So Ryan Salem and I are able to leverage the power and stability of Cogent Bank to go out and find our clients the best investors, the best products, and the best rates in the entire country for your particular mortgage loan. Of course, you don't have to be a customer at Cogent Bank to take advantage of our mortgage services to buy or refinance your home. We offer jumbo loans, VA, FHA, conventional and investment loans. At Cogent Bank, we offer mortgages nationwide, so we can help you with a second home or help a family member who lives or is moving to another state. Call Ryan Salem or myself, Jeff Middlecoff, at Cogent Bank today, 904-442-9191, to see how we can help you with any of your mortgage loan needs, whatever or wherever they may be.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender, Cogent Bank, NMLS ID 402296, Ryan Salem, NMLS ID 1182429, Jeff Middlecoff, NMLS ID 249086.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
I insist on complete honesty.
You can chime in anytime on the 1010XL text line.
Installed by Lifetime Flooring.
If you have something to say to me, I wish you would just say it.
Share your opinion.
Nuts? What?
641-1010.
That's crazy.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SPEED to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SPEED for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SPEED for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
March is full of upsets, but your oil change shouldn't be one of them. Don't gamble with your time in a waiting room. Go with a proven winner, Valvoline Instant Oil Change. No appointment, stay in your car, and a full-service oil change in 15 minutes. That's why Valvoline has a 4.7-star national rating and was named #1 quick lube in America by Forbes for customer service. Make the smart pick this March. Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Quick, easy, and built to win.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Nearing halftime on Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Boy, the Sweet 16 is producing some good stuff right now. 7.5 minutes to go. Texas, a 65-63 lead on Purdue. 11.5 minutes to go. Nebraska, 58-55 over Iowa. Two good ones to kick off the Sweet 16. Of course, later on tonight, Arkansas and Arizona. 4 SEC teams left. One of them in action right now, Texas. You got Arkansas tonight. And then tomorrow, you got Tennessee and Iowa State. You got Alabama and Michigan. The SEC, probably big underdogs, right? And all 4 of those matchups, we'll ultimately see what happens. But Texas trying to pull another upset. Again, they beat NC State in Dayton to begin the tournament in the first 4. Then they beat the 6-seed BYU. Then they knocked out the 3-seed Gonzaga. And they're now giving the 2-seed Purdue all they want with 7.5 minutes to go. We will keep you updated. Speaking of college basketball, Neil Blackman, Saturday Down South and the Florida Basketball Hour, joins us coming up here in about 10 minutes or so. Big news today for the Florida Gators. I led the show off with this. If you have not heard, 2 guys have already announced they are returning for next year, which is pretty shocking to me, seeing as how the season ended so horrifically just 4 short days ago. You haven't had a lot of time to really decipher things and talk to people, or maybe you have. Maybe you have. Maybe you talked to people pretty quick and you figured out you want to run it back, because Urban Clavsar, the 6th man of the year in the Southeastern Conference, announced he's coming back to Gainesville, and Boogie Flan, one of the starting guards, also announced he's coming back. And you say, well, Hacker, of course they're coming back. Those guys aren't going to the league. Well, let me remind you of something. I agree with you on Clavsar. More on him in a moment. Boogie Flan was going to go to the league. He was a projected 2nd-round pick in the NBA last year, and then he ultimately came to Florida. Would he have gotten drafted this year? I don't know. He might have been a 2nd-round pick again. Maybe not. Maybe more of an undrafted developmental G League type player. But coming back in today's day and age in college basketball doesn't necessarily just mean you're not going to the NBA. It means you're not going into the portal, right? To keep Urban Clavsar and Boogie Flan out of the transfer portal is enormous for the Gators. And it does not take a lot connecting of the dots to decipher that if Flan and Clavsar are announcing they're coming back just 4 short days after the season ended, well, then obviously they think, or they know, or one could believe that they believe that Todd Golden is certainly coming back to Florida as well, amidst some potential rumblings about he and North Carolina, or potentially he and the Kansas Jayhawks if that job comes open. I just don't get the sense that both guys would be so forthcoming with their decision 4 days after the season ended if they had any doubt that their head coach would be on his way out to Chapel Hill. So the fact that both of those guys announced today they're planning to return to Florida next year, I think is an outstanding sign for Gator fans that Todd Golden will return as well to the University of Florida. Not that I ever had really any doubt that he wouldn't. I've said all week, the next job in my mind that Todd Golden's going to have is in the NBA. Whether that's in 2 years or 4 years or 6 years, whenever, the next time that Todd Golden is not the head coach of the University of Florida, it's because he's the head coach of one of the 30 NBA franchises. Hopefully my Orlando Magic down the line, which would put me in a very odd spot here every night, celebrating Golden coming to the Magic, but also mourning with you the fact that Golden is no longer in Gainesville. That would be odd for me. The Billy Donovan stuff, however, to North Carolina is starting to pick up a little bit. I wonder how Billy would be in today's day and age in college basketball. And you say, well, he'd be great. Yeah, he'd probably be good, probably. It's been a long time since he's been in college. I mean, think about this. Billy Donovan has been in the NBA for, over a decade, right? 11 years? Does that sound right? Mike White was at Florida 6 or 7 years. Golden's been there for 4 years. I mean, you're talking a decade plus that Billy has been out of the college game. A lot can change in 10 years. Think about where college basketball was a decade ago compared to where it is now. It's considerably different. And Billy's, 60 years old. It would be an interesting hire for North Carolina. Certainly he's in the conversation, other guys as well, but it'll be curious to see. But I think after the news of today with Clavsar and Flan announcing they're coming back, I, for one, would be flabbergasted if Todd Golden was heading to Chapel Hill to coach the North Carolina Tar Heels. Let's talk Florida. What about Alex Condon? What about Ruben Chinulu? What about Thomas Houck? For that matter, what about Micah Hanlogden? What about guys that we don't know about their futures? Hanlogden's trying to get another year of eligibility. I didn't know that until earlier this week, but apparently that's the case. Let's talk about all of it. What does the future look like for Florida basketball? Neil Blackman, Saturday Down South, and the host of the Florida Basketball Hour, joins me next on a Thursday night here in Northeast Florida. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. Till 10 o'clock, it's Hacker After Dark.
Let's go behind the curtain at 1010XL.
Next time it'll be flawless.
It's still the flea circus. It's all an illusion.
When we have control again.
You've never had control. That's the illusion.
1010XL.
You totally undersold it.
Next time you head into a Gate convenience store, look for Form Energy Drink, designed to provide energy, hydration, and focus, straight from Dana White and AB, celebrating those who embrace grit, discipline, and resilience in their everyday lives. Check out Form Energy at a Gate convenience store.
The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron, totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens, also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings, and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
It's Gator passion on display when Patrick Young brings power forward intensity to the drill.
Patrick Young, a rip and a run.
Fast breaks and clutch shots with Dan and Jeff. Friday mornings at 8:30, tipped off by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists and Kuhn Flowers. The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Instant Keys is turning 25. A quarter century of saving the day when your keys mysteriously vanish.
Seriously, it was just in my pocket.
Or when that remote fob decides to quit working.
The dealership is such a hassle.
For 25 years, Instant Keys has been the go-to locksmith service for car keys, house keys, transponders, re-keys, and even high-tech smart locks. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For honest, professional locksmith service, use Instant Keys.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Well, I think most of us, if not all of us, figured we would be previewing the Sweet 16 this week with Florida, but the Iowa Hawkeyes had different plans on Sunday night. They stun the Gators 73-72, knocking the defending national champions out in the round of 32. Why did Florida lose? What is next for some of Florida's best players? And when you look back at the last 2 years, how will this 2-year run be remembered in Gator basketball history? Let's talk about all of it with Neil Blackman of Saturday Down South. He's also the host of the Florida Basketball Hour, and Neil's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Neil, how you doing?
You know, a little worse for wear from the late night travel. But we're doing all right.
Yeah, tough game. You were there, obviously. What was it like in the arena when that shot went in for Iowa?
I mean, it's an incredible environment. Both nights for the Florida games. I mean, credit the Florida fans. I think if you were to kind of identify the programs that had the biggest home court advantages, it was going to be Nebraska and Florida meeting in the Sweet 16, right? And Iowa came in and basically won a road game. And when that shot went in, the building was just absolutely electric. And then, you could have heard a pin drop just like that. And not sure what happened on that. Well, I have a good idea of what happened on the last possession, but obviously it was an interesting example of how everything can go wrong all at once in March. And that's part of what makes March Madness great when you're on the winning side of it, and what makes it cruel when you're on the rough side of it.
I got ripped on social media because I'm an Orlando Magic fan too, and Gator fans were just furious with me at the notion that if Orlando fires Jamal Mosley, I want Todd Golden to be on that short list. And I still agree with that. I think Golden's a great coach. It was a terrible 9 seconds for Todd Golden on Sunday night. Let's begin with defense. The only thing that could have beat them, Neil, and again, I'm not a basketball savant. I just watch a lot of it. You probably know more than I do. You host a podcast dedicated to college basketball. But the only thing that could beat them was a corner three. And sure enough, they had a wide open corner three. How does something like that happen?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things they could have done differently. I think the decision to press full court is not one a lot of coaches would have made. But let's set that aside. Once they did that, the idea, Todd Golden said after the game that the idea was to foul. Now, this is not as radical as some people think. First of all, Bennett Sturts was having an off night. So even if they foul Sturts, there's a chance that he does not make 2 free throws, even though he's an 84% free throw shooter. But in order to foul him, the one thing you cannot do is let him get away from you. And, so it started with, I don't know why they guarded the inbounder if the intent was to foul. And then after that, Boogie Flan trails around a screen, which, you would not want to do, because the one way he could get away is if that doesn't work. And then Xavier Lee stepped up into a screen set by Tate Sage. So he should have stepped over. Instead, he stepped up. So now Sturts is getting away, and Thomas Houck is the guy on the corner man, Fulgaris. But with Sturts having a whole full head of steam to the rim to tie the game, Houck has to make a kind of split-second choice, and he chooses to go and help on Sturts, which is where Lee should have been. And that's how Alvaro Fulgaris is as open as he is in the corner.
Neil Blackman, Saturday Down South in the Florida Basketball Hour. I think that is a great description of exactly what went down. And then to compound the problem, all right, so the shock value of being down 1 with 4.5 seconds to go. At that point, yeah, we've seen buzzer beaters in March Madness. For every buzzer beater you see, there are 20 games that don't go your way. So the odds of them making a shot with under 4.5 seconds were slim. But, Neil, I don't know. I mean, the thought might be there to actually take a shot. I mean, it's an idea, right, to get it up on the rim, have something going towards the basket. They didn't get a shot off, man. I mean, it was Keystone Cops at the end, was it not?
It was. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of cruel irony there. They won the national title by preventing Houston from getting a shot off a year ago, and they are eliminated from defending their national title by not getting a shot off. And what I think will be maddening to Florida fans is, and should be, is not so much that they didn't get the shot off, but that unlike Houston, Florida's play actually worked. And Xavier Lee took a terrible angle to the basket. If he cuts inside towards the middle, he has a very easy layup. And even the way he did drive, which was the poor angle because he went wide, Fulgaris was late with his help. So all Xavier Lee has to do is get the ball up on the rim. And Houck and Condon were both in position for a tip in. So I think, that's the other thing. Like, if you get the ball up on the rim, anything can happen because it's up there. I have no idea why he would pass. Even if he made a perfect pass to Houck, the buzzer would have gone off, I think.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I mean, to lose a game in that fashion on a defensive bust like that, and then to not get a shot off, is really a terrible way to go into the offseason. But nevertheless, that's where we are. And look, there's going to be some changes on this Gator team. First and foremost, let me throw something out there that I've heard that I didn't realize. I don't think it's going to happen. We'll obviously talk about Houck, Condon, and Chinulu in a moment. Is Hanlockton going to do something with the NCAA to try to get that year back from last season?
He is. They're going through the process already to see if the NCAA will grant him an additional year of eligibility. His case is, very solid. I mean, essentially, it's just a handful of games that he played over the medical waiver limit. And the reason, of course, he did it was to contribute to a team that had a chance to win a national championship. The NCAA has certainly given waivers for much less before. So I think, if the NCAA does the right thing, he'll be back for another year. But, if the NCAA does the right thing, has started a lot of sentences, my friend. And we often know how that ends.
Well, that's interesting because I thought for sure he was gone, so he is trying to come back. All right, so now let's go to the big three. I mean, Houck is a mid-first-round pick. Neil, I'd be stunned if he came back, correct?
Yeah, I talked to – this is anecdotal, obviously, but I talked to 17 different NBA people or 17 different franchises, including 2 assistant general managers about Tommy Houck. It was 16-1 for lottery pick. Now, the last one I spoke to was about a week ago. But at worst, he is a first-round pick right after the lottery. He's gone.
Totally agree. So Houck's gone. Condon and Chinulu, to me, are more interesting because every mock draft you see with those two, they're drafted in the second round. And in Chinulu's case, it's kind of the middle second round. Condon's towards the top of the second round. Could they sneak into the first round? Or maybe Condon could, I guess. I don't think Chinulu's going to. So that brings in, all right, have you just had enough of college, and do you want to go to the league? Do you want to come back for another year? Or, heaven forbid, do one or both of them pull a Denzel Aberdeen and go somewhere else with NIL?
Yeah, so on the latter issue, I don't think there's any risk on Condon going somewhere else. So I think with Alex, it will be Florida or professional basketball. Does he want to be in Gainesville without his best friend, Tommy Houck? That's a pretty big adjustment for a player like Alex. His NIL number will be ridiculous, and he will admittedly make more money playing college basketball than he would under almost any contract he might earn next year in professional basketball, whether that's a G League deal, a two-way deal, you know the drill. Chinulu is more interesting to me, mostly because his agent is more of a kind of dark horse. From what I understand, there's certainly a chance that Ruben could hit the portal and go to the highest bidder. I doubt it. He loves Florida, but these players do listen to their agents, and they're trying to maximize their profitability, like any of us. And I think that that's certainly possible for him. I would expect both those guys to take a long, hard look at returning. Right now, if I had to bet, I would, lean towards Condon leaving and Chinulu being back for Florida as sort of an anchor defensive piece they could build around.
You got Isaiah Brown, Urban Klabshar. Obviously, you got the 2 young kids who I'm excited about in Alex Lloyd and C.J. Ingram. Even worst case scenario and the big 3 are gone, well, you're going to have to replenish the front court, but having Hanlockton back would be huge. Plus, you have a lot of money freed up with NIL to go out into the portal and do some shopping, correct?
Yeah, they will. They're going to get a guard regardless. I know that I, too, am excited about Lloyd and Ingram. I think those guys are going to be excellent players at Florida. I would expect both of them back. The Brown brothers will be back. AJ will give them another shooter coming off the red shirt. And, the big question, as you said, is the front court. I would expect them to add a very high-profile player from Europe, similar to what Illinois has done, probably a stretch 4 type player, I think, is in the cards. And then we'll see from there. Money is not a big problem. They're third pretty firmly in NIL behind Kentucky and Arkansas in the SEC. It's going to stay that way. They have plenty of money to compete.
And look, I mean, the portal has been very good for Florida. If you think back to Will Richard, Elijah Martin, Hanlogden was a portal guy. Obviously, this year, Flan and Lee, maybe not what you thought you were getting out of the portal, but still those guys weren't terrible. So Todd Golden's going to be working on that. If he isn't already, it's going to be happening in the next couple of days. For the last 2 years, Neil, I mean, look, Florida fans were crushed on Sunday night, and with good reason. But as I stated on social media, man, look, you would take 20 nights like that, 30, 40, 50 nights like that to win that national championship. I mean, the fact that Florida won the title a year ago, doesn't that significantly soften the blow of Sunday evening?
Oh, of course it does. It's a great point. I tweeted something immediately after and, got a lot of blowback for it. People calling a year when Florida won the SEC championship a failed season, which made me laugh. I thought, man, if that's a failed season, what were any of the Mike White years? 27 wins, an SEC title. Florida won 63 games over the last 2 seasons. They won an SEC tournament, an SEC title, an NCAA tournament, and they had back-to-back 1 seeds for the first time in program history. And as long as they continue with the administrative commitment to basketball that they have and that this staff has proven it deserves, they have probably one of the top, I think undebatably one of the top 2 young coaches in the sport, along with John Shire at Duke. The future is bright, and the last years have been incredible.
You think Colin Hartman returns, or is he going to get a head job somewhere?
I think Carlin would be wise to listen to South Florida, though I don't think that I still think he should hold out for a Power 5 job and come back. The administration at Florida has been very good to Carlin financially, and he is happy in Gainesville. And I think if he waits long enough, he'll get that Power 5 opportunity.
Well, we'll certainly see what happens. And final thought, Todd Golden is kind of getting raked over the coals in the hours and days after the Sunday night loss to Iowa. I mean, look, we talked about the beginning. The 9 seconds was awful at the end of the game. What do you think this does for him? I mean, he was on top of the basketball world a year ago. Now he's kind of getting the business for that defensive scheme and to not getting a shot off. You think this reignites any sort of fire for Todd Golden moving into next season?
I think that anytime something like this happens, it's pretty motivating. I mean, to your point, he is getting raked over the coals a little bit. He's also won 63 games and most everything that there is to win the last 2 years. They have proof of concept. I think he's one of the 2 best young coaches in the sport. All this is going to do is motivate somebody who competes as hard as anyone I've ever been around to just keep working.
Neil Blackman, Saturday Down South in the Florida Basketball Hour. Neil, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about your podcast, what you'll have now that the season's over, and I guess we start moving towards football now, correct?
Yeah, we will over at Florida Basketball Hour. We'll postmortem this a little bit longer, kind of postmortem the season, and then we'll look at roster building for next year and beyond. Obviously, there's the Golden North Carolina rumors. I don't think that there's much to them beyond noise, but we'll talk about all that if we have to. Plenty over there. And you can subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/Florida BB Hour for more of that information. And then we'll get into John Sumrall, who I'm told is going to make folks believe.
There's not a chance Golden goes to North Carolina, is there? I mean, what percentage would you put on that if North Carolina comes open?
I would put it at 5%. Florida is a destination job. It's one of the things that people kind of don't understand has happened here in the last quarter century. His family loves Gainesville. And to your point earlier, they feel like they have a pretty good head start on building a very competitive roster for next year already. They're far ahead process-wise from where they were last year. Todd's getting everything he wants from the administration. Can an avalanche of money change things? I suppose, but again, Florida's going to make every effort to keep him in Gainesville, even if North Carolina did come calling with something serious.
Final question. I could literally talk to you for the next hour, 30 seconds. I am an Orlando Magic fan, as I mentioned. I do think that at some point in the coming years, Golden will pull a Billy Donovan and go to the NBA. That's just my opinion. Not this year, though, right? What if, hypothetically, Orlando were to call? Would he listen?
I think he'd listen to a number of NBA places. I actually had some discussions about this, Orlando keeping it short last night. I think the one thing that would concern me with, if I was like Orlando and I called Todd Golden, is I think he will look for a very ideal situation, much the way that Billy Donovan did. And obviously, Orlando is not a bad situation. The question I think that Todd would have is, is a path to winning with Paolo actually possible? And if it's not, I don't think he would go anywhere where he has to rebuild.
That would put me in a really weird predicament because I am a Florida basketball supporter. I am also an Orlando Magic diehard, so that would be very, very weird for me to have to talk about that on a nightly basis. We'll see what ultimately does happen. Neil Blackman. Neil, you've been so generous with your time. Thank you, my friend, and we'll talk again soon.
Appreciate it, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Now, another classic moment in Jags history.
Brunell wants to run at the 20 and leaps a defender. Incredible leap over Mike Magruder, who's left holding his jockey shorts.
Jaguars pride forever. 1010XL.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. Tell me if this is you, because it's definitely me. I go to bed thinking, tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up early, jump in that ice bath I just bought, have a good breakfast, go for a morning walk, and order a veggie for my side instead of fries. Then the morning arrives. I press snooze, skip everything else I planned because I'll do it tomorrow. But that's the Awaken 180 difference. Tomorrow is today. It's so easy. You want to do it. Your coach will be there to help you do it. You won't want to let her down. Accountability, ease, feeling great. That's the Awaken 180 difference. Now you can download an app, Google a weight loss plan, or buy the latest gadget. But who actually helps you follow through when you couldn't do it before? I lost 40 pounds with Awaken 180, and it was easy. No meds. I couldn't lose 5 pounds in a month on my own. Awaken 180 works, and it continues to work because it's set up to not let you fail. Succeed like we did at Awaken180weightloss.com.
Hi, this is Dale Murray with Murray Automotive Group in Stark and Kingsland. Save yourself from those big city dealers and their fast-talking mumbo-jumbo. No matter what your automotive need is, we've got you covered. Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and nobody beats our prices. I mean nobody. Shazam! Plus our exclusive 15-year, 150,000-mile warranty included on every qualified vehicle. And we'll trade anything from high heels to wagon wheels. Compare our prices online at ShazamAuto.com. Then come see me, Dale Murray. I'll be waiting for you. Shazam!
Sent in, and Sporting Jacks breaks through first.
For the latest on Jacksonville's pro soccer team, join the Sporting Jacks Coaches Show, presented by Honda of the Avenues, every Tuesday night at 6 on 1010 AM and 1010XL.com.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental. With light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, located in Bartram Park.
Longer days, warmer nights, and a backyard that brings everyone together. Spring and summer in Florida means pool days, backyard barbecues, and night swims under the stars. Pickett here. For nearly 50 years, Surfside Pools have been creating the backdrops for life's best memories. From weekly service and repairs to remodels, commercial maintenance, and new pool construction, Surfside does it all. Ready to float happy? SurfsidePools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools. Summer starts here. License number CPC 044080.
If you're thinking about getting a new roof sometime this year, Endless Summer Roofing can help. I'm Claudia, owner of Endless Summer Roofing. Stronger materials, expert installation, real peace of mind. A new roof isn't just an upgrade. It's the primary source of protection for your family home. Visit EndlessSummerRoofing.com for a free inspection today, and I'll make sure you're ready for tomorrow. Endless Summer Roofing. Protecting your home from Florida's endless summers.
Hey, this is Lauren Brooks, and if you think Closets by Design is just closets, you've got to see their brand new showroom at Phillips and Emerson. It's amazing what they can do. See for yourself how they custom design organization for any space. Garages, laundry rooms, bedrooms, even the man cave. It's all about smart storage that fits your lifestyle and budget. Schedule an appointment to meet with a design consultant and tour the showroom for ideas you can see and touch. Start at closetsbydesign.com.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball opens this weekend at VyStar Ballpark. Come early tomorrow for the opening day street carnival and don't miss post-game fireworks, all presented by Roland Reach Plumbing and Ascension St. Vincent's. Then Saturday, the first 2,000 fans get replica championship rings and more fireworks presented by Birkin Construction. The defending AAA national champs are home all weekend. Tickets start at just $5.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker, After Dark, on 1010XL.
We got some drama going on in the Sweet 16. Let me first tell you, the Iowa Hawkeyes have just knocked out Nebraska. Iowa, the team that beat Florida basically at the buzzer on Sunday night, the 9 seed, has just advanced to the Elite 8. Iowa over Nebraska, 77-71. Iowa now with victories over Clemson, Florida, and Nebraska. And the Iowa Hawkeyes are 1 win away from the Final Four. They will take on the winner of Illinois and Houston, which is scheduled to tip at 10:05 Eastern. In the other Sweet 16 game, this is where the drama is, and it's unfolding right now. Texas is down 3. Purdue 75-72. Here's a get off my lawn moment again. I understand why coaches foul when they're up 3. I get it. But what a buzzkill to the game, right? You know, I don't have a dog in the fight. I just want to be entertained. And here Texas is down 3. They inbound the ball with 21 seconds to go, and Purdue immediately fouls to send Texas to the line. Texas has hit the first. It's 75-73 with 20 seconds to go. Both teams are actually, Purdue has timeouts. Texas is out of timeouts. But Texas was not able to get a 3 off because Purdue fouled immediately. Again, I understand it. It doesn't mean I have to like it. Purdue up 1 over Texas, 75-74. It's going to become a foul game from the foul line at this point. But what a ball game. The winner of this game gets the winner of Arkansas and Arizona. That was originally scheduled for a 9:45 tip. That has come and gone. That game will be tipping off well after 10 o'clock Eastern now between Arizona and Arkansas. So the Sweet 16, a lot of drama unfolding. Hopefully this is just the beginning of 4 really good days of college basketball. We are in store for 3 days of the NFL Draft next month in Pittsburgh, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th, with the Jaguars having 11 picks total, including 4 in the top 100. Let's talk about the NFL Draft. Let's talk about this year's draft class, and let's talk about the Jaguar needs from linebacker to interior defensive line and all points in between. Destin Adams of A to Z Sports does a terrific job covering the draft, and he joins us next here on a Thursday night in Northeast Florida with you till 10 o'clock. It's Hacker After Dark.
Get a Gator baseball chomp on 1010XL.
The Gators take their Sunshine State shutout at the baseball grounds to Fayetteville for a weekend series against the Razorbacks. Florida and 4th-ranked Arkansas. Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon on 1010 AM.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal.
Stand back, Jason. I'm gonna
Sneeze? Yeah, I saw that coming.
It's all this spring pollen, Jason. It's outside and it's inside my house, and I just can't stop. I can't stop.
Sneezing? Okay, let me help you with that.
How can you help?
At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we can improve your indoor air quality with air purifiers, UV lights, and filtration systems. Every new system we install includes high-efficiency 4-inch filters that work better and last longer. even if you forget to change them.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Life can get pretty dusty sometimes. If you spend all day, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
It's your boy E to the T here, and the Clay County Fair turns 40 this year. The rides, the music, the fun, and of course, the food eating contest hosted by Team 1010XL. I'll be there too, looking for you. April 2nd through the 12th. Learn more at claycountyfair.org.
This is Jeff Middlecoff with Cogent Bank. My associate Ryan Salem and I joined Cogent Bank because we wanted to revolutionize the mortgage business, just like Cogent Bank has revolutionized the banking business. So Ryan Salem and I are able to leverage the power and stability of Cogent Bank to go out and find our clients the best investors, the best products, and the best rates in the entire country for your particular mortgage loan. Of course, you don't have to be a customer at Cogent Bank to take advantage of our mortgage services to buy or refinance your home. We offer jumbo loans, VA, FHA, conventional, and investment loans. At Cogent Bank, we offer mortgages nationwide, so we can help you with a second home or help a family member who lives or is moving to another state. Call Ryan Salem or myself, Jeff Middlecoff, at Cogent Bank today, 904-442-9191, to see how we can help you with any of your mortgage loan needs, whatever or wherever they may be.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender, Cogent Bank, NMLS ID 402296, Ryan Salem, NMLS ID 1182429, Jeff Middlecoff, NMLS ID 249086.
He used to lay the lumber on the field.
No, I'm not a quarterback, but I like eating quarterbacks for breakfast.
Now he lays his opinions on Jaguars Today. Tom McManus. Fridays on 1010XL. Opened by Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
Tired of changing out bad sod year after year? Get it done right with Roundtree Sod. Big or small, they have it, and always supplied farm fresh. For a lush, legendary green lawn, call 7414-SOD for a free estimate. 7414-SOD.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Now, the Monahan's golden moment. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local family jewelers.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We are less than a month away till the NFL draft up in Pittsburgh, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Obviously, a lot of Jaguar news as far as departures with the likes of Travis Etienne, Devin Lloyd among those. How will that shape what Jacksonville's ultimately going to do in next month's NFL draft? Let's talk about all of it with Destin Adams of A to Z Sports.com. He does a terrific job covering the NFL draft, and Destin's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Destin, how you doing?
I'm doing good, We're probably jealous of the weather you guys have down there right now. We had hail here in Indiana yesterday, so definitely living better out there right now.
Yeah, it's in the high 80s, low 90s. I think we're finally done with our cold spell, which actually was a pretty decent cold spell this year. Look, the bottom line is the last time the Jacksonville Jaguars played back in January, it was cold, not only temperature-wise, but it was a very cold ending to a very good year. It was just so abrupt, the ending for the Jaguars and their playoff run. And at that point, Destin, we knew there'd be some changes. We just weren't exactly sure what the changes would look like entirely. We have a little bit of clarity now. Etienne to New Orleans, Devin Lloyd to Carolina, some other departures as well. But from a free agent point of view, obviously it appears the Jaguars have taken some hits this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, the Etienne one wasn't that shocking. I mean, I think every team has to kind of make a decision eventually on what the market is for a running back and bringing them back. And Jacksonville was a team that I feel like has liked to use multiple guys in the backfield anyway. So that loss wasn't that big of a deal to me. Losing Devin Lloyd was pretty shocking. I thought Devin Lloyd was somebody that propelled himself into the conversation as one of the best linebackers in football this past year. And I really didn't even feel like he left for a price that priced him out of Jacksonville. Like I thought he was going to cash in major, become one of those like highest paid linebackers in football, maybe the highest paid linebacker in football. I thought Devin Lloyd was somebody that could have been brought back still and should have been somebody that Jacksonville maybe paid a little bit more for to keep around. As a guy in Colts country, I thought Devin Lloyd was one of the best players in the AFC South last year.
And look, I mean, not that everything the Rams do is gospel around here, but I think we had kind of mentally prepared ourselves, because if you look at Les Snead's track record in L.A., they don't pay linebackers, at least not a lot of the time. So, and James Gladstone spent 9 years with Les Snead in L.A., so the fact that he didn't pay Devin Lloyd, I guess to me wasn't a shock. ETN, I mean, you get $13 million a year. That was never going to happen here in Jacksonville. You know, quickly to the ETN front, Bashal Tutin, LaQuint Allen Jr., and they go out and they bring in Chris Rodriguez, still a pretty young guy, a guy that had 500 yards rushing in Washington last year. Have they done enough to replace ETN, or do they need to address that early in the draft as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard. I mean, they know Tutin better than anybody else is going to know him at this point after having him in the building for a year. Yeah, I mean, I really liked the signing of Chris Rodriguez. I felt the Jaguars moved pretty quickly after Washington moved on from Rodriguez. I really think Chris Rodriguez is a guy that is going to complement what Tutin has in terms of speed, just because Chris Rodriguez is a guy that is kind of willing to do a little bit of the dirty work at running back. He runs really hard through any hole you give him. He's a guy that I really think has a lot of upside as a pass blocker. So I really like that addition. I just think ETN did so much for that offense in terms of just setting up some easy stuff in the pass game, as well as just being a really solid change of pace type running back. So I think it's a lot that you're going to put on Tutin's shoulders going into year two. But I think, like I said earlier, I think Jacksonville knows Tutin more than anyone else in the NFL right now after being able to have him in the building for a full year. So if they think he's ready, I think it makes sense for Liam Cohen to kind of get the benefit of the doubt here.
Destin Adams, A to Z Sports.com, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Destin, we mentioned Devin Lloyd. Now, what the Jaguars are going to do to replace him. Ventrell Miller is in the building. A couple of young guys, Jack Kaiser and Branson Combs, who James Gladstone continues to bring up. He was an undrafted free agent out of Wake Forest last year that made the team, and he is certainly a guy that James Gladstone and the Jaguars like. But by all indications, it's a heavy linebacker class this year. I keep hearing the name Anthony Hill and Jacob Rodriguez connected to Jacksonville. What is your thought on what the Jaguars may do to replace Lloyd in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, if you had to have a year to need a linebacker, it's this one. This is a really deep group. You know, you mentioned a couple that are really solid, Anthony Hill Jr., Jacob Rodriguez. In this class, just looking at my personal draft grades, I ended up having 7 guys that I think are warranted to be drafted inside the first 2 rounds at linebacker. I think it's a really great year to take those shots at linebacker. I also think the hit rate on linebackers in the NFL draft is among the highest of any position in football. I think it's just one of those where if you need depth at linebacker, you should be taking shots at linebacker every single year. And this year, I think it just happens to be a year that I think you're going to get a lot of starters, a lot of guys that have the ability to wear the green dot on defense in this class. To me, I think Jacksonville has some guys that can play that are currently on the roster. But I think looking at this class and the fact that you don't have a first-round pick in Jacksonville this year, the need for that second-round pick to not only hit but be most likely a day-one contributor, I would circle linebacker if I was Jacksonville, because I just think the amount of guys in this class that have the ability to play right away and play at a high level is just among the highest of any position in this draft class.
You know, in talking about Hill from Texas and Rodriguez from Texas Tech in particular, those are 2 guys that have been linked to Jacksonville for a while, and regardless of who you talk to, they'll bring up Hill and Rodriguez. Is that a scheme fit thing with Campanile? Is that just word of mouth among, draft analysts? Because those 2 guys seem to be at the top of mind when it comes to the Jaguars when you talk about what they may do in round 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it probably goes into just the fact of how versatile a player Devin Lloyd was, and that being the player that Jacksonville's trying to replace. I think Anthony Hill Jr. and Jacob Rodriguez, they kind of share that ability in terms of they wore a lot of hats on the defenses they're coming from. I mean, Jacob Rodriguez is it's very easy to talk about. He was a Heisman candidate in the end of the year for a reason, received votes to win the Heisman Award in the end of the year as a linebacker. And it was because he did so many different things on that Texas Tech defense that's going to have a lot of guys drafted this year. You're going to see multiple guys have the chance to go round one out of that group. Looking at David Bailey, Lee Hunter is a guy that some people think could go in the first round still. Romello Height is a guy that has some love to be a top 50 draft pick. And Jacob Rodriguez was the guy that led that group. He's not going to get drafted ahead of those guys most likely, but he was the leader in that locker room on the field. So I think it makes a lot of sense for him to be somebody that could replace a Devin Lloyd. And I think Anthony Hill Jr., he's another guy that just did so many things at Texas. He was asked to rush the passer. He was asked to drop back in coverage. He was asked to play against the run at a high level. He played sideline to sideline with his speed. And I think Anthony Hill is a younger option to Jacob Rodriguez, and I think there's a little bit more mystery in terms of how good he can become, whereas I think Jacob Rodriguez is a little bit more polished, and I feel like teams are going to know what they're getting on day one from what they saw from Jacob Rodriguez, whereas I think Anthony Hill's somebody that if you're trying to project for the future and just get the most out of your bug, Anthony Hill Jr. could be the high upside swing.
Couple of more for Destin Adams, A to Z Sports.com, talking NFL draft with us here on 1010XL. Destin, I'll tell you another guy that I hear to Jacksonville a lot. They need defensive tackles. They need interior D-line. Now, I'm all in on the local guys. Caleb Banks, I don't know if he'll fall that far. We'll see with the foot issue that's come up. I also like Darrell Jackson, but in that same breath, every time you see a D tackle to Jacksonville, it's the kid from Oklahoma. Is it Halton, I believe is his name? I see him mocked to Jacksonville a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, Grayson Halton is an exciting player. I mean, if you're looking for a pass rusher out of the interior, I mean, you're not going to get much more proven production out of this group than Grayson Halton. Really nice first step, a guy that really puts guards and centers on the back burner right away. Had a really good showing at the Combine, and I heard he was a really good interview from NFL scouts I was able to talk to about him. So I think Grayson Halton's definitely a solid option. I think defensive tackle is a class where if you want a nose tackle, I think it's a really deep group to attack and go for. If you're looking for that pass rusher out of the interior, I do feel like there's a big drop-off entering that day 3 area to where if you're a team that wants a production out of that immediately, like I feel like you're going to have to take the swing in the second or third round. So I guess that's a question on if Jacksonville thinks getting that pass rusher out of the interior is a major need and it needs to be in that top 100-ish picks.
You know, in Jacksonville, obviously, as we mentioned, doesn't have a first-rounder because of Travis Hunter last year. But having 5 in the top 124, including 4 picks on day 2, in this draft class, that's probably not a terrible spot to be in, correct?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think the more and more people you talk to around the league in this class, I mean, there's probably 15, like the top 15 picks in the first round are going to feel really confident that they got a first round talent in this class. After that, like, I don't think there's going to be that much of a drop off in terms of grades from player 16 in this class to player 60. I think the meat of this class, a lot of people believe, is on day 2. So if you were going to have a lot of picks anywhere, I think day 2 is probably the best area to have it, just because I think the hit rate there is going to be so much better than the return on investment guys are going to get at the end of the first round.
Jaguars sitting at 56, 81, 88, and 100. 4 picks there on day 2. Destin, I want to squeeze in an Indianapolis Colts question to you at the end. Final thought on Jacksonville. We got about 60 seconds. All indications are this is going to be a heavy defensive class for the Jaguars. We've talked linebacker. We've talked interior D-line. Do you agree that Jacksonville is going to go heavy defense, and how would you assess the defensive class as a whole this year?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the defensive end of the class on round 2, round 3 has a lot of talent, and I think that's probably the area that I would attack if I was Jacksonville. I just feel as if that's the area that you could see that needed improvement come the playoff time. I think the offense really got into a really good groove down the stretch, and I think Liam Cohen had those guys playing at really high level to where if you can improve the defensive side of the ball, like, I don't think there's any reason Jacksonville shouldn't be confident that they can be AFC South champs and compete further into the playoffs.
Destin, final question. Not only do you cover the draft for A to Z Sports.com, you also cover the Indianapolis Colts, our brethren in the AFC South. Obviously, the big news for them is giving Alec Pierce $1 billion in free agency. Daniel Jones as well, coming back from the Achilles. I know they traded Zaire Franklin, which was interesting. I mean, how would you assess what the Colts have done this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, the Colts made it known to everyone that would listen that their top 2 priorities were retaining Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce. They got both of those deals done. I think how they are presented to the public of what that total number is, I think is larger than what their actual commitments are. Both deals kind of have pretty easy outs that make those deals less than what meets the eye. I think the big thing is they've lost a lot of starters, whether that was planned or not. They've lost Kwity Paye to the Raiders, Braden Smith to the Texans. They traded away Zaire Franklin, like you mentioned. They traded away Michael Pittman Jr. in order to pay Alec Pierce, and they really haven't added many starting caliber players to replace them. So it's going to be really interesting in how they operate going forward, because the defense was already struggling last year, and on paper it looks worse right now. So they got to have something else up their sleeve.
30 seconds. Do we think Daniel Jones is going to be ready for the start of the regular season?
The Colts have typically been a team that don't just throw words around if they don't mean it. And every time you've asked them, they've said they believe he's going to be ready for training camp, which is beyond the week 1 expectation.
Wow, because he got hurt here December 7th. If he's ready for training camp, that would be quite the recovery from an Achilles. All right, Destin, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, A to Z Sports.com, and the coverage you and the good folks over there will have as draft season approaches.
Yeah, we'll have a lot more draft content coming from our entire site. That's all 32 teams covered. And we're really excited for some different projects that we have coming out for the NFL draft come early April that I think a lot of fans from every single team will enjoy.
Destin Adams, A to Z Sports.com. Destin, I know you're busy, man. Thank you for the time, and we'll talk again soon.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
And thank you to Destin Adams, A to Z Sports.com, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark as you look at the NFL draft now less than a month away up in Pittsburgh. And it appears on the surface that a couple of things are true when you talk about this draft class. Number one, I guess it's good for the Jaguars. They have 4 picks on day number 2. And that appears to be a good place to be because the more people you talk to, and we've certainly talked to a bunch of draft analysts here on Hacker After Dark, and we will continue those conversations. The more people that you talk to, the more people will tell you that, well, it's a good draft to an extent in round 1. There's like 15 to 18 guys with round 1 grades, but that's about it, right? Once you get to 19, 20, there's not much of a difference between maybe player 20 and player 60. And the Jaguars, look, have pick 56. And they also have 81, 88, and 100. So even without a first-round pick for the first time in franchise history, they do have 4 picks overall in the top 100, 11 picks total. And certainly it would appear that if they want to, they can move around the draft board a little bit, maybe move up, move down, or if they want to keep their picks and draft 11 new players, they are certainly able to do that as well. And it looks like it's going to be a very good defensive class, right? I've heard it's one of the best linebacker classes in years, which is great for the Jaguars because after the departure of Devin Lloyd, they may need a linebacker, certainly. Appears to be a pretty good safety class as well. You look at defensive backs, you look at defensive linemen, particularly on the edge. So a good spot for Jacksonville to be in. Of their 11 draft picks, if they keep all 11, I would guesstimate 7 of them will probably be spent on the defensive side of the ball. Again, I think it'll be a very heavy defensive class for James Gladstone and Liam Cohen here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we certainly spent some time on that. We spent some time on the future of Florida Gator basketball. Look, I know most of us thought they'd be playing tonight in the Sweet 16. They are not, but really enjoyed the conversation with Neil Blackman of Saturday Down South and the Florida Basketball Hour to talk about what the future may hold for the Florida Gators moving forward. And we also spent some time on the Jaguar offseason as a whole, free agents that were lost, the arrival of Chris Rodriguez, and what all of that will mean moving forward into the 2026 season. Well, that will just about do it, man. Very, very busy Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM, and we have a ton of people to thank. Again, thank you to Destin Adams, A to Z Sports.com, talking NFL draft with us. Thank you to Neil Blackman of Saturday Down South and the Florida Basketball Hour. Always enjoy the conversation with Neil as we look towards the future of the Gator basketball program. And then back in hour number one, Ryan Fowler of NFL draft analyst, NFL football. He's been one of our NFL guys for years. Ryan's covered it for a long time. He was in the Senior Bowl. He was up at the Scouting Combine. And Ryan's also done a lot of work with the Washington Commanders. So we did a deep dive into Chris Rodriguez, one of the newest Jacksonville Jaguars. And we appreciate Ryan for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Friday to close out the week beginning at 8 o'clock. And we do hope that you join us then. Aaron Williams was your producer tonight. Aaron, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have a terrific remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night on a Friday to close out the week beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
This is 10